Welcome to World Travel Made Easy with Itinerary, Boss, the podcast for busy professionals who want to plan unforgettable trips without the stress. If you're craving adventure, relaxation, or cultural immersion, but feel overwhelmed where to start, this is the show for you. Each week, we dive into travel tips, expert strategies, and actionable advice to help you save time, money, and hassle while helping you design your dream trip. From group getaways to romantic escapes to adventure packed journeys and budget friendly tips, we cover it all. I'm Ross, your host and travel enthusiast, with over a decade of experience balancing a demanding career while also planning trips to over 25 cities in Europe, all over the US, Central America, the Caribbean, and beyond. I've mastered the art of stress free planning, and I'm here to help you do the same. If you love what you hear, don't forget to follow the show, leave us a review, as well as share it with a fellow traveler. I want to make your next adventure the easiest and most memorable yet. Now, on with the show. Welcome back to another episode of World Travel Made Easy with Itinerary, Boss. On this week's episode, I'm excited to walk you through the ultimate travel planning checklist. And the reason for us walking through is, if you've been joining and listening to the podcast over the past year, you know that I'm all about planning all my guests. The biggest takeaways from them is don't fail to plan, because then you're going to have things that come up that are going to be challenges. And that's really where we want to help walk through, what are some of the keys to planning your trip out first. And over the past 10 years of planning those trips, I've kind of learned a lot of lessons, whether that's myself, from friends, from hearing from others. And I want to help you not make the same mistakes. So on this episode, I'm going to be diving into a vacation document checklist. This is going to be in general at a high level for if you're traveling domestically, if you're wanting to travel internationally, and what are some things that you're going to want to have, as well as just some pre-trip planning best strategies that we outline that are going to help minimize stress and just help you have a smoother travel experience. So first, and also, if you want all this information all compiled in one place, we actually do have it in our stress-free travel starter kit available on our website, and we'll drop that in the show notes. And at the end, we'll share how you can find that if you are wanting to go get it. But first, it's all about pre-trip planning. So I think first, it's always, where do I want to go? How long do I have? Who am I going with? And also, and if you are new to planning travel, what do you like when you do travel? Do you like to chill out on the beach, or do you like to walk around cities? Do you want to be in one place? Do you want to go to a bunch of different places? So I think that's the first question you always have to ask. It isn't about, hey, here's where Instagram is telling me I have to go during peak tourist season. Sometimes those are great places, but what I've found over the years of traveling is do what you want to do. And that's going to be where you're going to get the most value and start to enjoy travel. So first, it's all about starting there. And then from there, I would set up flight alerts. So figure once you know your dates, kind of how long you have. If you're just getting started, start to just set up flight alerts. You can do that within Google Flights. You can use other tools like Skyscanner. If you have the Capital One card, one of the cards, whether that's the Venture Rewards card or the Capital One Venture X Rewards credit card, you actually have the Capital One portal where you can set those up, and that actually links to Hopper. So that's another app, but I never recommend booking through Hopper. I always recommend booking direct through the airlines, but that's a good way to track that. And you can book through the Capital One portal if you'd like, but I don't want to go too deep into detail there. We have other resources. If you are interested in getting travel credit cards, those are two that I always recommend, along with some others. But you can visit our website to have more details on those. But it's really getting started with, okay, where do you want to go? What's the dates? And then figuring out which platform you like the best and setting up those flight alerts. So from there, I always like to think about then, okay, what is going to be my vacation checklist that I need to have, right? So getting started there, I think, is going to be helpful. We've already created that for you in an Excel sheet. We've also created a vacation packing checklist, which will actually do a deeper dive into packing like a pro next week, as well as some insider strategies where we outline that and a finance budgeting spreadsheet. So we've created that. If you don't want that, you can create that from scratch, but that's kind of what goes into when you are doing that pre-trip preparation, starting to plan there. So I always recommend first those things. So having in your Google G Drive, Gmail, Docs, Excel sheets, those things that I just mentioned, we have available. You can make your own if you don't want. For managing itineraries, you can use either Google Docs. I use ChatGPT to help create my itineraries and have separate tabs in there, which we'll dive into a little bit down the line. Google Maps is another great app to download. And then Tripit can help manage some of your itineraries. So a couple of those are really good just to get started, have on your phone. You don't need to download or you don't need to dive deeper into how to use those now. I think the biggest thing is just getting those apps on your phone, and then as you start to plan your trip, that's going to be helpful. And then for tours, Viator, Get Your Guide, TripAdvisor, those are good for activities, and you know that's good getting started. But also, one other thing too is when you are deciding, if you've listened to our episodes with experts, myself, solo episodes, and any content that we put out, we're all about traveling outside of peak season, which peak season is going to be, kids' spring breaks. You're also going to have summer. So from that June to August when everyone's out, thinking about shoulder season, can you pair it with a holiday? If you do have kids, thinking about, different school holidays, thinking about, is there a way to have an extra day or just some strategic way so you aren't traveling in that peak season. But if you are going to maybe not the most visited places that everyone is visiting, finding those off the beaten path hidden gems. And we talk to that in a lot of our other episodes. So go check some of those out. You can search those. But that's what I would get started with prior to then thinking about, okay, what is that document checklist? Those are the apps. Those are the different organizational tools that you're going to get started with. Thinking about when is going to be good, and then where. And then we have a lot of different tools and upcoming episodes with expert guests, with myself, where we're going to talk about, how do you get started with maximizing travel credit cards. So I think thinking about what do you have in your wallet now, if you do, if you do plan to travel, if you do have big upcoming expenses that you want to use, and then have those points to be able to transfer or use for travel. Just a prime example, our honeymoon, we saved a significant amount of money on for business class flights, a lot of different hotels, as well as using for wedding expenses. We have a lot of pretty much 2025 and into 2026, a lot of our travels paid for through those strategies. So stay tuned there for some upcoming content. But starting with just if you're newer, one beginner friendly card, earn points on everyday spending, redeem them for flights, hotels, and signing up for the different rewards programs. Think about, okay, if you do travel for work, where may you stay? Is it Marriott, Hilton, IHG, or Hyatt? If you're flying a lot, what is a central? What's a hub? So for us, I'm in Charlotte. We have American. And then if you are more intermediate, you already have maybe that one card. Maybe you have a Capital One Venture. Maybe you're wanting the Capital One Venture X Rewards credit card, or maybe you're looking at other well-known credit cards, which you can visit our website, which has our favorites. But starting to get those, thinking about how you can get welcome bonuses, how you can maximize whether you shop a lot at rest or at doing a lot of grocery shopping, whether it's restaurants, for getting sick points there, whether it's booking trips, using, 3, 4 times the points, booking those. If you do have big group trips, that's where I maximize a lot of my points is when we do have trips, whether it's an Airbnb, whether it's Verbo, and maximizing that with the one key rewards from Expedia. Those are all different strategies, but starting to think about those is really good when you start to map out trips rather than just planning, looking for the cheapest flight that may have three layovers. It's going to take you more time. It's about strategically outlining those types of things. That's kind of the prep work. And then once you have that, you're going to have something that's set up, setting you up for success for all future trips. The good news is I've already created all that. So if you do want that resource where you don't have to take the time, learn all those lessons that I've learned over 10 years, you can grab that on our website at itineraryboss.com. And it's the stress free travel starter kit. But from here, just from a vacation packing checklist, I've outlined things. So first, you're going to want to think about, with your backpack, if you need resources for that, I've tried a bunch of different backpacks, had good ones, had bad ones. So you can also find that in our packing checklist that's in the free resource. But when you're starting to think about places, once you know where you're going, right, you're going to want to understand, okay, do I need any sort of specific documentation? Are visas required? Are any sort of vaccinations required? For example, we're going to Bali in Thailand. You know, we want to get our typhoid as well as Hep A vaccines just because we want to be that's what everyone recommends. So looking into those type of things prior, from a flight ticket standpoint, I know now most apps or pretty much every app has your flight tickets, but I always recommend too, right? If you get your phone taken, whatever that may be, stolen, if just stuff happens, maybe having a backup. If you don't have two phones, having a backup and printed tickets is going to be key. Same thing for accommodations. And first, going back to how do I organize all this? My recommendation would be when you go into if you have a Gmail, whatever email provider you use, creating a folder and just outlining. So, for example, you just put Greece 2024 or wherever, and just housing all confirmations, all documents. That way, you have it. You can go back from a digital standpoint to that folder, and you can do a print off. And whoever you're traveling with, you can forward that to them, and they have that. So that's a great way to have all of that documentation compiled, and it's in your G Drive, so it's pretty easy to share. And if you want to share it with people, if you want to share it with your parents, if you want to share it with other people, you always can do that. So just a best practice. So flight accommodation, flight tickets, accommodations. If you're travel insurance, I highly recommend. Also, depending on which credit cards you have, always looking into what covers those. And I know a lot of people sometimes look at credit cards, and we'll have some content coming out here around, oh, it's a, $95 annual fee, or it's X amount annual fee. But a lot of times those credit cards, that annual fee is being paid for by a lot of the benefits that come with it. One of those being travel insurance on specific things. So always look into that. And a couple cards that I have cover a lot of that, for if I do use that card to book. So just something to keep in mind about for travel insurance. So do your homework prior. And the nice thing is we have all of that information readily available, under our credit card section on our website at itineraryboss.com. And then from there, if you have an itinerary created, in that Google Doc, share it with someone, have a digital copy, have the Google Docs, have the Google Docs app downloaded on your phone. My suggestion too is taking screenshots of each page and just housing that within images. So if you don't have Wi-Fi, whatever that may be, you can't get in, being able to have that backup. So just always, right, erring on the side of caution, having multiple layers, helps you get out in front of anything that happens, right? Lost phone, no Wi-Fi, emergency, whatever that may be, then everyone has it. You're prepared because things come up. It's happened plenty of times. So just learn from lessons that others have had. Car rental confirmation, having that ready available. I like to print that out. Sometimes when you go international, things may happen within the system. So making sure you have that. Event or tour tickets, always look out. Sometimes if you do it through Viator, get your guide TripAdvisor. They'll send you tickets beforehand. You then have to download those. And sometimes if you don't have Wi-Fi, they send it right before and you have issues. So just make sure you're looking out for those emails and downloading those tickets prior or printing them off. That's going to be a best practice because sometimes those operators aren't sending them until a couple days before, and you may already be traveling, right? You may be on a 10 day trip where you're on your second leg and you're not getting it, you're somewhere without Wi-Fi or service and you're not getting that till prior. So just some things to think about. Again, erring on the side of caution. Emergency contact information, that's very important. I always recommend having two people, sharing all of your information, sharing all of your itinerary, where you're going, where you're staying, those types of things with them, making digital copies of your passport, and printing those off and taking pictures on, if you have multiple phones, taking those, sharing that with the person you're traveling with in case your phone gets taken. I have my ID, backup ID, paper ID, and also just anything else, right? And kind of splitting up those credit cards so they're not all in one wallet, right? If you're taking a backpack, if you're taking a passport holder that we recommend that we have in our vacation packing checklist, my recommendation would be kind of splitting those up throughout. Same thing with cash, IDs, all that. That way you're just playing it safe. I always think back to when I went on one of my first snowboarding trips. My snowboarding bag got lost, and I luckily had traveled before and put some of my snowboarding gear. I had a backup pair of gloves, backup pair of pants, backup jacket, and I was able to go the next day because I had that. I did not have, right, my snowboard, my boots, those types of things, but I was able to rent those. So it was preparing, not putting everything in one bag. And if something happens to that, you're screwed. It's thinking about, okay, how do I diversify if you're an investor and just be able to kind of hedge against if something goes wrong, right? I'm able to then have all of those areas set up for success. Health and vaccination documents, or your health insurance. If you have travel insurance, looking into that, what's covered, TSA, global entry card. My suggestion always, have cash just in case. I would pull it from a bank when you get there. So if there's a bank somewhere where you're at, don't get it from a random ATM. Go into that bank, get cash from there. Also, when you're paying for credit cards from a transaction fee standpoint, when they say, do you want to use, let's just use the euro, for example. Do you want to pay in euros or USD? Always choose euros, because if you choose USD, then you're going to get hit with the transaction fee that they charge for doing USD, as well as the currency exchange rate. So just some best practice to keep in mind. Phone with an international plan, make sure you have that. Also, if you need to get a eSIM, things like that, those are some best practices. But that would be really it from a vacation document checklist. In our next episode, we'll go through more of a vacation packing checklist. What are some things to think about around clothing, around shoes, right? Best practices, best products. We've trialed and erred so many different things. So being able to understand, right, what does that look like? What help you learn from some of our mistakes? And just before we hop off, I'm going to share my screen because I want you to see when I talked about your stress-free travel starter kit. You can come in here, you would just enter your email, first name, last name, and then you would get your free starter kit sent over by email. That would also get you signed up for our weekly newsletter, which, trust me, I get a lot of newsletters, and at the end of each year, I get rid of those. Some of them, the ones that are valuable, I do not. The good thing is I'm subscribed to so many, which I get to see what's good, what's bad, and I'm constantly focused in on providing the most value. And each week, what that comes with is podcast episode updates directly to your inbox, solo episodes like this, so podcast with experts, interviews which come out weekly, solo tutorials that come out each week, blog posts, so you're getting those directly, and we just highlight the main takeaways. So if you're interested, you can click in. We also give travel tools of the week. If there's any credit card welcome offers, if there's any specific like transfer bonuses that can help you maximize your points and miles. We share that. We also shared success stories from whether it's myself, whether it's from other people who took right that next step and are making that travel. And the good thing is that's only going to help you get better. And we have some really exciting stuff coming out around, like I had mentioned, wedding planning, how to leverage credit cards, and how to use those to maximize, as well as everyday spending. You know, if you don't want to open up a bunch of credit cards and you want to just do that, we'll go through that. One other way you can get there too, through our Instagram, if you just click here, this would take you to here, and then this would give you the ability to go into that. So just a quick and easy way. And then if you have questions about credit cards, right, like I'd mentioned, this is very simple, easy. It shows our favorite cards. If you wanted to go in and look into this specific cards, it would this would be to apply. But if you just wanted to learn more, if you weren't ready to, it could be you could read our take, and then this gives you the ability to understand more, right? Hey, what does this include, right? What are more specifics, those type of things. And I'm always happy to, if you have specific questions, happy to help walk you through, answer those. So appreciate everyone tuning in. We'll look forward to talking to you next week. If you enjoy this episode, make sure to give it a 5-star rating and review. Share it with a friend or family member or just anyone who's trying to travel more, as well as, give us a follow or like. And I think the biggest impact that we can have and help you out with is our weekly newsletter. That's where you're going to get the behind the scenes, the most value, and connect with other like-minded individuals and start to share those challenges, those wins, and everything like that. But until next week, appreciate everyone tuning in.